And the topic of our satsang today is receptivity to truth. But what is truth first? In a way, it simply is everything that is all around us. Whatever is happening to us, moment to moment, is truth, is reality. And how receptive are we to that truth? A lot of times not very receptive. We are not able to accept everything that's happening around us, especially things that are not pleasing to us, which may bring some amount of sorrow, some amount of loss, some amount of pain. Then what do we want to do? We want to perhaps run away, escape it, fight it, fear it. We certainly want to shape it in a way that pleases and we can understand it, isn't it? But what do the masters say? They say this is the truth, this is your reality, and you have to accept it. Be even-minded and cheerful in whatever comes to us, isn't it? Of course, you can after that joyfully change it, work to, make it better. But we must first and foremost accept it. The truth of life is that it is always changing. It's inevitable that pain will follow pleasure, joys, sorrows will alternate with each other. Swami Kriyananda mentioned that there were devotees around Paramhansa Yogananda who would say very often, be very happy, because of Master we got this job, and he did this for us, he did that for us, he helped us in so many ways. And Swamiji said, I was so surprised also, because it is not the Guru's job to give us what we like. It is the Guru's job to give us what we need. And perhaps we need tests, we need challenges, we need situations which help us to learn, which help us to grow. But when these situations come to us, when happy ones come, we say, oh wow, it's the God and Guru's grace flowing to us, it's amazing. But when it's not so good, then are we able to take it as His grace, those tests that make us stronger? Can we accept them as His flow of grace into us? A lot of times we need to check with ourselves. Nowadays truth is very easily available everywhere, right? We have millions of books, we have millions of articles, Facebook, Insta. Everybody is offering us a piece of advice in every way. It's like a shopping mall filled with shops with different techniques and sadhanas and knowledge of different paths. And isn't it easy to get lost in that? Sometimes we do a few techniques, but then that other shop starts glittering more, and we go and try that, then we go and try that, and we just get completely lost. Truth is too precious for that. In the Vedic times, what happened? These great masters, great gurus, rishis would go hide in the jungles, right? And the spiritual seekers would have to climb these tall mountains, go through dense forests to reach the masters. And even then the master would say, go collect some wood. You had to get the master interested in you. You had to show your sincerity. And then maybe he would give you one teaching, one technique, one sadhana, and say, go and practice this for some years, and then come back. And then finally, if the master approved, you would be given more, So this was like a test of the disciples' readiness, of his preparation to receive that truth, right? But also, the scriptures say, truth can be dangerous for us if we are not prepared for it. It can take us deeper into delusion. It can even destroy us in many ways, right? So I think all of you may have heard of the story of Bhasmasur. It's an interesting story, but a good analogy for how we can destroy ourselves. So Bhasmasur is a asur, a demon, and he prays for thousands of years, millions of years, as the Purans say. And finally, he pleases Lord Shiva. And Shivji says, "What do you want?" And he says, "My hand, give me that power in my hand that whoever I touch on the head should get destroyed." Now just see the analogy. We usually use our hand on top of somebody's head as a blessing. But the wrong intention, wrong motive, what did he want? The power to destroy. And then he proceeds to destroy. Shivji says Tathastu, and he proceeds to destroy everybody that he sees. And finally, it reaches to that extent that he starts chasing Shivji. And then he wants to put his hand over Shivji. And now Shivji is like, now what am I going to do? And then Vishnuji comes and he says, okay, I'll do a trick. And he disguises himself or takes the avatar of Mohini, that beautiful dancing girl, right? So she goes and pleases this Bhasmasur and says, why don't you dance with me? He says, okay, I'll follow you. And then during the dancing steps, she puts her hand on her head, and as Bhasmasur follows, he also burns to ashes. So that is exactly what we do when we do not realize the power of this with wrong intentions, wrong motives. We need to purify our karma and prepare even to be on this spiritual path. Many times we get stuck in looking for siddhis and powers. As Shivendra, this chant in the morning today, Swami Kriyananda's chant, make me an empty vessel. That is the way we can realize God. We forget that goal. Now we remove from our vessel maybe the worldly powers and desires, but what do we fill our vessel with? The spiritual desires and powers, for fame and recognition in a different way, to get the siddhis. So Yoganandaji once met the perfume saint in Autobiography of a Yogi, if you've read. He called him the perfume saint. A saint who had a power to instill perfume into flowers. And Yoganandaji sat there completely unimpressed by this power, and in the end he tells him, you've just wasted your time using your sadhana for these powers. Once, if you've heard of a very famous Bengali saint, Ramkrishna Paramhansa, a sannyasi comes to him and he boasts, trying to impress the master, "What have you done? I can walk over water." So Ramkrishna Paramhansa says, "Really? How long did that take you?" He looks a little impressed. He says, "Really? Wow." So this sannyasi says, "Took me 10 years of sadhana." He said, "Oh, I can take a boat for 2 annas and cross the river Ganga when I want." So all of your 10 years of sadhana was equivalent to 2 annas. So in front of realization of God, these siddhis, these powers mean nothing. Right? We have to prepare. That is why, so that we don't go deeper into delusion, we have to prepare to receive the real truth within us. In fact, the masters say that if we are not sufficiently prepared physically as well, the light of God, the grace of God is so strong that we won't be able to bear it. One of Yoganandaji's very advanced disciples, Dr. Lewis, one day, like I think secretly all of us wish, he goes to Master and he says, "Give me samadhi, Master." Yoganandaji just looks at him, okay. But Dr. Lewis persists and he goes on, "Give me samadhi, give me samadhi, give me samadhi." Finally, Yoganandaji looks at him piercingly and he sends great power into Dr. Lewis. And he says, "If I give it to you, will you be able to take it?" And Dr. Lewis is now a little, "No, I don't think so." So we need to be prepared also to receive that power, that truth that God wants to give us, Guru wants to give us. How do we prepare for it? How do we prepare? We have the tools in the toolkit. Yeah, everyone's nodding. Yeah, so the meditations, the spiritual practices, we need to go deeper and deeper into it. Yogananji said, today's meditation should be deeper than the previous days, and that's how we prepare ourselves. And we need the right attitude, not only in meditation, but for our day-to-day life, every day, every moment, the right spiritual attitudes of persistence, determination, of faith, of discipline, patience. We need all of that attitude. But what do we do very often? We come here to the ashram and we learn, meditate twice a day. We go back from the classes and everything, satsangs. Yes, today, yes, that is the day. Today, twice a day meditation will happen. But then in the evening, after office, tired. Oh, what is even the point of such a meditation? Didn't the teacher say that you cannot sleep during your meditation? Shouldn't be tired, you should be completely relaxed. What's even the point? Today I can't meditate like this. Switch on the TV and that's the end of our meditation. You have a late night, next morning, alarm rings for the meditation. No. If I'm going to sleep all day, what's even the point? I need my full sleep. Don't the doctors say that? I need my sleep. And the alarm is shut. So what happens? We need that right attitude. First step of meditation is relaxation. Who said that? Yogananji said that. But what did you see in his life? He barely slept for 4 hours. He was always busy with his classes and correspondence and meeting people, So what did he exemplify? He said that I never go to bed before I keep my appointment with God, however tired I may be. So that is that attitude. Once in his childhood also, it is given in the Autobiography of a Yogi, he and his friend decide that let's pray to Krishnji and today we will see him and then only we will go to bed. So both of them, very excited, go to their rooms and they start meditating on Krishna. Now they go into the bliss of meditation, but Krishna doesn't come. Finally, the friend is like, it's almost dawn, I have a long day tomorrow, and this is not happening just by saying, are we going to see Krishna, etc., etc., how ego and Maya goes on. Yogananji said, you go, I am not getting up till I find Krishna today. And that's what he did. He did not get up till he found Krishna and in fact helped his friend to see Krishna as well. That is the attitude that we really need to adopt. We need to go beyond these ego limitations which will softly keep whispering to us, oh, not today, excuses, justifications. Only when we can step beyond this ego limitation, when we can go beyond this little self, then we can touch that divinity, that truth that is always ready to flow into us, that grace, and to be able to receive that. Thank you.
Well, as I was reading the verses from the Bible and the Gita for this week's topic, the verse in the Bible is where Jesus says, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, and throw ye not your pearls before swine, lest they trample them and attack you. I don't remember the exact word there. And so the implication in the verse is that we should not share the truth just with anyone, as Vasudha said, because everyone is not equally ready to receive the truth, right? And I started to think more about this verse, and I realized that for a long time, for many, many incarnations, we are the ones who are the dogs and the swines, if we like it or not. And Jesus certainly used strong and colorful language over there, but that is, in fact, the truth. And Swami Kriyanandaji used to say often that God's grace is like sunlight which is shining over the building. And if you don't remove your curtains, you will not receive God's grace. And so exactly like the chant this morning, our job simply is to open the curtain and receive God's grace. But if you look at the lives of the masters, fortunately for us, they they often do not follow this rule of not throwing pearls before swine, in a way. So no matter how obstinate we are as disciples, as students, the masters are always throwing more and more pearls to get us to develop more and realize and learn our lessons. And this fact is pretty self-evident if you look at the lives of the gurus. So in the Autobiography, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, in chapter 12, Years in My Master's Hermitage, Yogananda Ji tells of a disciple, a brother disciple of his, called Kumar, simply Kumar. And this disciple is not the most well-behaved one. He seems rather egoistic and he is always bossing people around. Yet Sri Yukteswar has a lot of love for him. And no matter what this disciple did, Sri Yukteswar Ji is always showering him with love. And he was trying to get him more seriously on the path. But as we know, if you have read the story, he ends up leaving the ashram altogether, and he does not listen to his guru. And that is one example. In the life of Yogananda Ji, there was a disciple of his who ultimately betrayed him and who sued him and threatened to destroy everything that he had built in the US. And after all that had happened, Yogananda Ji still used to send him a crate of mangoes every year. And that disciple would return the crate of mangoes unopened every year, right? So the gurus are always sending us these pearls. The question is, are we able to receive them or not? In the life of Krishna, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, after sharing all these divine truths with Arjuna, he says, "Oh Arjuna, never share these truths with someone who lacks self-control, who lacks devotion, who does not care about me, who speaks ill of me." And can you guess one character in the Mahabharata who perfectly fits the bill? Duryodhana, right? I don't think anyone else could be as perfectly described in this verse. And yet, if you look at the story, at the very end, just before the war begins, Krishna goes to plead the case of the Pandavas and say that, please do not do this war, it is not necessary. And he even shows his cosmic form to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana sees that Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all these worlds are a part of Krishna, and no mortal is blessed enough to see this form. And yet, after that vision withdraws, Duryodhana says that, oh, this is just black magic. This Krishna is just a magician, he deceives people all the time, and I'm not going to be fooled by him. So there you go. The pearl of all pearls, and nothing happened, So you can almost say that the job of the saints is turning swines into saints, as I was thinking about it. And fortunately for us, they will keep doing that until we learn. And sometimes, as I'm sure all of you have learned through experience, that these pearls do not come as pearls, right? These pearls come disguised. They are inside, they are buried inside a difficult test. And until we learn that lesson, we cannot discover that pearl. There are many times I have seen this in my own life, but two instances come to mind. This is a few years ago. I had just received Kriya. I had come to the path. And before coming to the path, I had a little business of my own in software, and to help supplement, startups and 19-year-old boys don't have a lot of money. So to supplement some income, I started writing online. It started as a hobby and then turned out into something serious. And I used to use that income to help run my business too in the initial days. And after a couple of years, this was when I had already started serving full time and I had left everything else. I used to write online on this platform and I used to receive income as much as people read my articles, very simple. And by that time, after a couple of years, my heart was really not into it. But part of me always felt that, maybe I should not just leave this, What's the harm if some money comes in? It's not like I'm going out to party, so I'll just, keep that going. And even though I was not motivated to do that, I was basically within golden handcuffs, as they say. I didn't want to drop it. And I had to somehow felt forced to continue with that. It was a very strange experience. So one day I woke up to this email which said that you have been banned from writing on this platform for plagiarism and whatever accusations I cannot even remember. And I was probably shocked for like 30 seconds. And then after that, I said, thank God. Thank God I don't have to take that burden again. And, this came as a test, and I could have easily taken it in the wrong way. But Divine Mother freed me from that. She freed me from that obligation because my heart was not into it. And that was a great blessing, a great way to strengthen my faith and to live more and more with the thought that God will provide for me. And another time, this is a few weeks ago, as you all know, I was at Ananda Village and Ananda Meditation Retreat doing mainly a program for 25 days, which is called the Living Discipleship Program. And it is a program for Kriyabans who want to dive deeper into the teachings and into Ananda and what it is for, and Swami Kriyananda, and, just be more and more part of this new ray of light coming into this world. And so a part of that program was for all the living disciples, for 19 of us, to organize a gratitude tea. And invite everyone from Ananda Village to come. So it was, we make delicious food, we have some entertainment. And so we made a little skit. And in fact, the story Vasudha just said about Krishna was in that skit. We played out that story. And to set up that skit, the stage was outdoors and we needed good sound equipment. So at the meditation retreat, there was an ancient sound mixer, nothing like what we have here. It was 45 years old. It was very sacred because the sound mixer and the mics were used by Swami Kriyananda and for all his programs. So I, bowed down to it and I said, okay, I hope this all works. And so me and some other devotees, we tested everything. The event is tomorrow. Everything is working fine. The next day we took out the sound mixer, maybe an hour before the program, and the on and off switch broke. And you're in the middle of the forest, it's not like you can get a sound mixer from anywhere. And we're wondering what to do. And in 5 minutes, it's going to be noon. And noon time was always a 30-minute meditation in our schedule that day. So we messaged one of our friends. He handles the sound department at Ananda Village. His name is Christian. So we said, hey, Christian, such and such happened. Are you available? And we knew he was doing sound at some other event. So I was really thinking, what are we going to do without sound in an outdoor event with 70 to 80 people? You need microphones. So I said, all right, we have done our best. There's nothing that we can do right now. So I guess just time to meditate and trust that something good is going to happen. And sure enough, by the time we were done meditating, we heard back from our friend. And he said, oh, sure, I'll bring some equipment. When he got his equipment, his whole car was full of microphones, stands, a very nice sound mixer, and that mixer ended up having like the ability to support 10 microphones. And the old mixer had only 4. So, we were really compromising ourselves, and Divine Mother said, no, I'll give you something better. But she had to break it so that we cannot use the old sound mixer. If she wouldn't have done that, we would have gone ahead and had, a subpar sound setup. And that was so amusing for me. And we could have, again, me and my Guru Bhais, we could have become frantic and irritated and anxious about this seeming setback. But we found that if we just calm ourselves down and ask what is trying to happen, and as Vasudha said in the affirmation, fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Right? So even in little situations, we can practice like this. And more often than not, we find out that God has something much greater in store for us. And if we just get out of the way, I am but an empty vessel, just empty ourselves, then God's greatness can fill us and fill our lives with joy. And so the more we open our heart to the Gurus, to Divine Mother, the more they can take charge of our lives, and the more receptive we can become to God's truth within our own hearts.